Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Marcos Villegas. Happy New Year. And in today's edition of this Fight Hub chit chat, it's come to my attention that a lot of boxing fans got their panties in a bunch over two things that have happened in the last few weeks. One of which, Jake Paul, who's to say, Jake Paul is always a subject of contention amongst not only boxing fans, but I think fight fans in general. Jake Paul being named by Sports Illustrated as Breakout Athlete of 2021, and Jake Paul being given the distinction by ESPN for Knockout of the Year. So let's go ahead and discuss this. I'm going to bring in our team member, Mr. Marcus Hayes, to join in on the discussion as well. And Marcus, a lot of people extremely bothered over this, but let me just put a few things not into context but perspective over this 2021. First off, it was a great year boxing, tremendous year actually, one of the best in recent years. Now, why is that this year was such a great year? Well, one, we got some pretty badass fights. That's why. Fights that we wanted to see happen, fights between the number one, the number two, or the best fighting the best, and that brought out competitive matches, which boxing is at fault. There's a lot of non-competitive matches being put on all levels, and when the best fight the best, we sometimes get dramatic results. Sometimes we get boring fights, but that's usually not the case. And then we get dramatic finishes and climactic endings to those said matches. We also had a ton of undisputed fights this year. Josh Taylor became undisputed against Jose Ramirez. Canelo became undisputed against Caleb Plant. Charlo and Castano fought for undisputed. We got some awesome back and forth fights. Chocolate Tito. I love saying Chocolate Tito because that's how Roy Jones always says it. Chocolatito Gonzalez taking on Gallo Estrada. Now, Marcus, you know what Gallo means now, right? I saw that interview. I saw that interview you did with Joey Spencer, bro.
I do know what Gallo means now.
All right. Don't get it wrong. It doesn't mean what you were thinking.
Yeah, that's Google. Hey, Google's tripping, homie. You need to go holler at Google, my guy.
We got Fulton versus Figueroa and Wilder versus Fury 3. And because these fights were competitive, they were great. And it got a lot more fan attention. And it also got, a lot of casuals coming in and watching it because of the magnitude of these fights. And I hope going forward to 2022, promoters, managers, advisors, broadcasters, keep that same thing going and see look, this is how boxing's supposed to be done. And when it's done this way, we also get some dramatic knockouts. Now, let's go ahead and touch on first the knockout of the year. Now, ESPN put out this, was it a tweet or an Instagram post? I think it was a tweet, right?
Yeah, I think it was a tweet.
It was a tweet saying that Jake Paul's knockout over Tyron Woodley in the second fight was knockout of the year. Now, I agree with that. I got a lot of ish for it on Twitter and on the Instagrams over. But let me discuss why I agree with that. And then I guess we'll leave it up to you, Marcus, and see what you say, because Marcus is you got the purest soul, bro. Sometimes I'd be saying a couple stuff that I don't know, maybe people are like, what the hell is this dude talking about? But I feel like you're the purest at heart.
We got to check the house. I'm here for checks and balances. So go ahead, man. Let me know what you think.
Yeah. So look, when I think of something that deserves to be knockout of the year, it's a few basic things. It's not rocket science, okay? It's the brutality of the knockout. If that knockout makes you get up and go holy crap, oh my God. It has to bring so much emotion out of you that makes you go WTF. And it has to have dramatics. It has to come out of nowhere or just so dramatic that it really evokes that emotion, that gut emotion that comes out of you. Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley. Exactly. Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley too. That knockout was that. It was a boring fight. Don't get me wrong. It sucked. I was there in the arena. People were booing. It was a terrible fight up into that point, okay? But out of a movie, he feints, clank, connects that shot, sweats flying off of Woodley. Woodley face plants, goes limp.
Yeah.
That knockout right there, that was an oh my God emotion. And I'm telling you, bro, that knockout got the most attention out of any other knockout this year because of who Jake is, because of who Tyron is, and because of the event. More clicks, more posts on World Star and all these accounts that don't normally post boxing stuff. It got the most attention out of all of that. Now, when you go ahead and maybe compare it to like a Wilder Fury, okay, which could have been knockout of the year, and same with Valdez versus Burchell. I'd say like among those three, people are kind of like, it could be this or it could be that. Okay, so let's kind of like shred down now. Like if a boxing fan were to be like, but Marcos, Wilder Fury 3, it was fought at the highest level. They're heavyweights. How could you say, Jake Paul? Like, this guy's not even a real boxer. His opponent wasn't even a real boxer. No boxing experience. Like, how could you claim it over that? I just told you as to what a knockout should evoke and part of the reason why. Now, I agree that was a hell of a knockout, but let me tell you why this one surpasses the Wilder Fury 3 knockout. The main thing, bro, we knew that knockout was coming. We knew it was coming. Wilder was on very shaky legs. He had already been down. He had knocked Fury down. He was looking tired. He was ready to go. We knew that was coming. So that kind of takes out the effect of like it coming out of nowhere because we knew it was coming. The other thing was it didn't come out of nowhere. It's like we were watching a movie and we already knew that one of the main characters was going to die. We were already expecting that. Given that, then
analogy,
yeah. So when you put that into account, at least for me, I placed Jake over that Wilder Fury knockout. The one that does have a very strong argument, and that someone could die on their shield over, die on their sword over, is that Oscar Valdez versus Burchell knockout. Okay, let's take a look at that one. That one fought at a higher skill level. Agree, totally. Came out of nowhere. Yup, it did. Made you go WTF. It did come out of nowhere.
I don't think it came out of nowhere. Burchell,
yeah, bro, he face planted him out of nowhere.
Burchell had already been down. He was clearly losing the fight at that point when he was getting ready to get KO.
See, like now you're fueling my argument, bro. See, you're not even noticing.
But the thing about the Burchell KO was that at the time when Burchell was getting ready to get knocked out, just like Wilder, he threw all caution to the wind and went out on his shield. When both KOs, that was for me what makes them 1 and 2 respectively, is that the person who was getting ready to get knocked out kind of knew it was coming and committed their soul and went forward, like the Goosens used to say so long ago when they're talking to Evander Holyfield in the corner. Commit your soul and go forward. And what happens.
Selling out.
They went out on their shields. You love that. I don't think Woodley was anything close to that.
Well, he got cracked with a shot he didn't see coming, bro. How was he supposed to go out? He did go on his shield. He got knocked out.
No, I just, he did get knocked out. Woodley got put to sleep. Let's not say that he did not. However, his got cooked.
That's what Broner would say.
But you know what, man? I mean, to be honest, it was a great knockout, but it was a knockout. He got knocked out on a sucker punch, man. He got knocked out on a sucker punch.
What are you talking about, sucker punch? Are you kidding?
I'm not talking about sucker punch as in, let me go back to the
No, I know what. Yeah, I know what
prohibition and say he got dry gulfed. He didn't get dry gulfed. He didn't get socked on the side of the head and didn't know what was happening. But come on, man, he flashed downstairs. You dropped your hands and you got knocked out. That's a rule. He broke a rule in boxing.
No, it was a feint, bro. He fell for the feint. He feinted him before, and he feinted him again.
He feinted crazy and put his hands down. Now, I'm not impressed by a guy that gets knocked out. He puts his hands down. He made a mistake and he paid for it. Versus a guy
Okay,
like
Wilder, Valdez, they all made. Burchell, they made mistakes too.
they
Wilder
did make
was going
mistakes,
really crazy, like leaving
but
himself.
those were
Wilder left
champions.
himself
Those
wide
were
open.
champions that were beating into making mistakes.
Bro, this was a UFC champion.
Woodley, no, listen, let's cut it. Woodley
UFC
as
champ.
a boxer, absent the name, Woodley would be fighting. Woodley wouldn't even be fighting at the DoubleTree Hotel in Ontario,
But that's not the case, bro. He has a name.
Fighting on Path to Glory with Thompson's boxing promotion.
If you look at it skill wise, yeah, you 110%. I agree.
That's what it is.
But we got to look at reality. The reality is he has a name. He has a lot of combat experience. A former UFC champion.
No, keep going down the line. He has a name.
Ton of combat experience.
He's guy's bigger than him.
Yeah.
Younger than him.
True.
More experienced than him.
True.
When we talk about boxing,
you talking about fighting.
Talk about boxing.
Because with them fighting,
they were not fighting. They were
fighting, bro. They were fighting.
They were not.
They weren't
fighting.
MMA fighting.
They were boxing. This was a boxing match, was it not? By the Queens of Marcus Berry rules, this was a boxing match, right?
Mm-hmm.
This was a sanctioned boxing match. So he's younger, bigger, stronger, faster, more experienced.
I don't know about stronger. Tyron's pretty
more
strong.
Experienced. He has.
See, I don't know if he's more experienced.
That's the thing that folks aren't realizing about Jake Paul. Jake Paul has a clear advantage over the guys that he's fighting. He has advantages over all
Fury.
of them.
So Fury had an advantage. Fury had an advantage over Wilder in skills and technicality and experience and amateur experience. Valdez and Burchell, he had an advantage in experience and technique. And then here's the other thing too that I think turned off a lot of people.
Who had more experience? Did you say that
Valdez was he was an Olympian. He's seen way more styles than Burchell.
But Burchell got more pro fights than Valdez had.
Overall, though, his body of work overall, the styles he's seen, the experience he got from the amateurs, from the Olympics.
I think that's more of a push. Valdez was an underdog coming into that fight. He was an underdog.
But let me tell you with that.
Another thing.
Well, let me tell you with that knockout, though, because of what happened after, little shadow over Oscar Valdez, a lot of people are discrediting that knockout. And that's why I'm picking.
And see, that's what.
Now, but that's why I'm picking Jake Paul's knockout as knockout of the year because of that.
No, because there was no testing. There was no testing under their event. Had no testing.
They tested. They just didn't do VADA testing.
Yeah, so the event didn't have legitimate testing that we all have become accustomed to being.
Oh, it's not a world title fight, bro. Like they only do the VADA testing.
But what I'm saying, so this to me, that is firmly supplanted behind the Valdez and the Fury KOs.
Nah, bro. When you look at a knockout, you got to look at the brutality of it. And
now, you know what? And I'm happy that you brought that up, right? Because I made some categories up, and I wanted to go over some of these with you. A couple of things for me that are important with KOs, and I don't know if the fans will agree. We'll see in the chat, in the comment section. Number one is the power of the shot that's landed. There's I put down 5 criterias with a 6 sub category. So 6 criteria.
Bro, you're making it too complicated.
No,
it's a knockout.
No, look at it. I think it'll help us to judge some of these KOs.
It's not a hard thing. It's a knockout. It's like how brutal the knockout is.
It's a knockout, but here's the thing. Okay, one is the punch's power. Sometimes guys go down, and when they go down, they are not so much asleep as they are exhausted. Exhaustion.
Okay. Continue.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Okay. Number 2, the technical factor of the KO, and all these are 1 to 10. The descent factor, when a guy gets mugged, boom, and he's going down.
Bro, when these usually the knockouts of the year, any year you look at it, guys either face planning or like they like short circuit collapse.
True. True.
It's simple, bro. It's real simple, dog.
You don't get that sometimes. You get guys that have been knocked out. You got to think about some of the knockouts you
Dude,
saw.
Sergio Martinez, Paul Williams, that was knockout of the year. Face plant.
That's a face plant, right?
Marcus knocking out Pacquiao. Face plant.
That's a face plant, right? I
Jake
understand.
Paul knocking out Tyron Woodley. Face plant.
But you name magnitude.
Wilder
But you
knocking
name
out
high magnitude. This fight. They're not the same magnitude.
Okay, so hold on. Okay, not the same magnitude.
Look, absent this new COVID culture,
look. Okay,
that does not get KO of the year.
That's a point that I've been hearing from a lot of people. The magnitude, the skill level. These guys are fighting at a higher skill level. Okay, we're not judging. It's not called the most technical knockout of the year, the knockout of the year by the most skilled fighter of the year. It's knockout of the year. Knockout. It doesn't matter from who it comes by. It could have been a club fighter that could have done it. But if that club fighter knockout would have been so brutal, oh my God,
there were knockouts this year that were bigger than that. There were KOs this year that were bigger and uglier than the knockout that we saw Tyron Woodley. You just made
there's another point I'm glad you brought up.
Because the Woodley knockout is pure it's Jake Paul knocking out Tyron Woodley. If this were Mike Paul knocking out Darrell Woodley, it wouldn't have even probably made headlines past being a clip on ESPN with the face plant and everything else that went with it. It would not have been so glad you're bringing this up. And it would not have had a chance to be knockout of the year at all.
Okay, now let me counter that. Okay, so for what you said, it was told to me on Twitter. Marcos, how are you going to say that? We see KOs like that from guys at club shows, knocking out TJ Taco guys. But are those fights that happen at that level mega events with the eyes of the world on it, and with the figure of a social standing of a Jake Paul and a former UFC welterweight champion like a Tyron Woodley? No, they're not. They're not. And because of that, you got to give it credence, because this was a mega event with a ton of eyes on it.
Then you lose there, because then there's a mega event, and that's Fury versus Wilder. Or there's a mega event in Burchell versus Valdez. When you talk about magnitude,
but Jake Jake's more well known than all those guys. Okay. Whatever he does gets more attention than all of those guys. But going back to what I was saying, bro,
it's a great KO. But here's
knockout.
We're talking about magnitude. How many buys
knockout.
did that thing get?
It doesn't matter about the buys.
No,
it doesn't matter.
But you just stressed magnitude.
Yeah,
we just talk magnitude.
Because you mentioned
means meaning. Magnitude.
Look. Because you mentioned if this would have happened,
65,000 pay-per-view buys.
But look,
65,000. Almost more than 65,000 that bothered to get up and pay to watch.
That's more than what a club show would have gotten. And that's what you're mentioning. If this would have happened on a club show, it wouldn't gotten any attention. But because it is Jake Paul, it is Tyron Woodley, it was put on Showtime.
So the names drove it up.
The attention. Popular. And honestly, when you look, if you match all those knockouts together and you look at which one is the most brutal out of all these three, you're gonna say the Woodley Jake Paul one.
No way.
The sweat flying and all that.
Burchell.
You, like I said, you can make a strong argument with Burchell, but because of all that T stuff with Oscar Valdez, it makes you wonder. Even though, hold on, and I want to stress this is very important, because people are besmirching Valdez's knockout over this. They were VADA tested for that fight, and he passed.
Exactly. So that's why I brought it up.
All that other is that people are saying they can't bring it up.
I would not play that other game. Valdez was clean for that fight.
Yeah.
He was tested. Things were checked out. He was good to hook. That's a solid KO. Whatever happened afterward, I've completely compartmentalized. I'm going completely off of the KO. Skill for skill, it was some of the best stuff out. And it was a bigger KO in my eyes than the Woodley being KO. I'm not shocked that Woodley got knocked out. I've seen Woodley spar. I've seen Woodley shadow box. I'm not surprised Woodley got knocked out. I'm not. And I don't think boxing purists are shocked that Woodley got knocked out. This is what happens when you come into a boxing match and you're not quite ready, or a guy is you're more green of a piece of fruit than the guy across the ring from you, there's a high probability that you could be knocked out if you're willing to stand in the pocket and trade. Woodley was willing to stand in the pocket and trade, and he got put to sleep.
And
Not
I'm pretty
shot.
sure a lot of the people here watching this in the comments section are going to say Valdez over Burchell. Like I mentioned earlier, you could make a legit thing with that, but because of what happened with Oscar after, it could make some people hesitant, because I did see that on Twitter. But that's the end of that first round between me and Marcus Hayes on who's the knockout of the year. He feels it's Valdez Burchell. I feel it's Woodley and Jake Paul. But let's go into round two. Round two. Another thing that pissed off a lot of people, and I had a long thread about this with someone on Twitter, that breakout athlete of the year, according to Sports Illustrated's Chris Mannix. You're already shaking your head. I love it.
It's coming from Mannix, man.
It's coming from Mannix. Oh, hold on, bro. Hold on. You guys are gonna say like, "Oh my God, Marcos, like you've become a full-on Jake Paul ass licker." No, dog. No, you got to look at these things for what they are. Like I mentioned earlier, it's not the guy who. It's not knockout of the year is knockout of the year. It's not that deep. It's knockout of the year. It's not who the most technical fighter who scored the knockout, the most skilled fighter who scored a knockout. In terms of this breakout athlete of the year, it's not the most skilled boxer of the year, the most technical boxer of the year. Breakout athlete of the year. That term is very broad.
It is
very subjective, open to interpretation of what you think breakout is. Now, on Twitter, I think Abramitz is who I had the long thread with, and I get along with Abramitz as well. He's a good guy, does good work. He mentioned that it should have been Fulton, who had a strong year. But like I mentioned, we're talking about breakout fighter of the year, not most skilled, not best wins of the year. The fighter who broke out from the pack and made the biggest impression, not only in the sport of boxing, but in sports in general and in the popular culture. Okay. So what is breakout athlete to me? What is breakout athlete to you, Marcus? What is breakout athlete to you guys at home? Like I said, it's open to interpretation. All right. But if you go in the dictionary, it's funny. Even in the dictionary, there's multiple meanings for what breakout is, given in different contexts. But I think the one that sticks to this situation, this argument, is an instance of surpassing any previous achievement. In my opinion, and I'm going to get a lot of ish for this, but it's fine, because you got to look at it for what it is, and you got to take away any preconceived bias you have towards the guy, and you just got to look at, okay, who had a big year, who had the biggest impact in that year, who had the biggest influence on the sport and all that. And the dominoes start falling. It's Jake. Jake surpassed every single guy in combat sports who had more skills than him, who fought in higher stakes fights, who fought for more titles. He got the most attention out of all those guys and the most eyes, and he sold the most pay-per-views than any other fighter this year. That's called disruption. Not only in boxing, but the entire combat sports landscape. Now, I know, like in the past, in the beginning, I wasn't all for like what Jake Paul was doing. I just felt like he was coming off a little disrespectful to boxing. But he's put in the work, and I respect that he's going in there and having these fights. It's a hard thing. If it's so easy, me and you, Marcus, would go in there and have fights. It's not an easy thing. Guy has a lot of courage to do what he does, to put it all on the line and risk getting made a meme, even though he's made people into memes. The very same thing can happen to him. This is a sport where you live by the sword, and unfortunately you die by the sword. If you stay long enough, or it's so unpredictable that can happen to you. Now,
absolutely. I feel
back. Hold on. Let me just finish this point of how he's had so much of an impact, Marcus, and I'll let you go ahead and chime in. You look at what the individual has done, and you compare it to each other guy that you could say maybe you can make an argument for breakout fighter of the year. And given that it's not, like I mentioned, it's not fighter of the year. It's not fighter with the most potential of the year. Not fighter with the most skill. It's breakout. Who had the biggest breakout freaking year? It's Jake. 3 fights in 2021. Ben Askren, 1 million buys. The first Woodley fight, close to 500,000 buys. The second Woodley fight, knockout of the year, according to me. If not, the second biggest knockout of the year. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Look what he's doing for other fighters. Amanda Serrano, the most attention she's ever had in her career because Jake is actively putting her on her cards. She tweeted, I want to say 3 weeks ago, I'm a millionaire now. Jake Paul bumped her purses up. She wouldn't have gotten those kinds of purses without Jake. Montana Love, because Montana Love was on the first Woodley fight card.
Sure was.
He got more eyes than usual. Eddie Hearn saw him, signed him. All right?
True.
Now, the other thing, too, that he's helped fighters, okay? The other aspect is you got every single fighter, both in boxing and MMA, wanting to fight him, or at least fight YouTubers now because they know there's big money there. There's a big audience there.
Yes.
And because of that now, fighters are starting to beef up their social presence. They're starting YouTube channels because of him. Look at Regis Prograis now. Look at Paulie Malignaggi, who just started a YouTube channel as well. You know, the whole YouTube boxing stuff, the exhibitions was because of him and his brother. And it had such an influence on combat sports and in boxing that it made Floyd Mayweather think twice and be like, you know what? I'm going to go get this easy money. I'm going to go fight Logan Paul. And they did 1 million buys. That exhibition wouldn't have happened if there was no Jake Paul, no Logan Paul doing this kind of stuff. He's going to have another one with the TikToker in Dubai in February.
Yeah, well, I think that this kind of idea of how you sort of run your mouth and then create money, that's all Mayweather. That's not these.
Not Mayweather. That's Ali, bro.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
What I'm talking about in this.
That's not even Ali, dog. That's Gorgeous George.
And yeah, I was about to say that's Bobo Brazier and Gorgeous George, man. We know that, right? But I'm talking about in this era right here, in the boxing era, the robbing the bank era. That's Mayweather. No questions asked. No point. No ifs, ands, or buts. But the thing about, and you make some solid points about him. I can't breakout athlete of the year. Me and my brother been watching a lot of wrestling the last couple of weeks, man. Just a lot of the old matches. And dude, Jake Paul is moving like he is being orchestrated by Vince McMahon. I mean, the way that
he's like
he's
Goldberg.
Got his own niche.
When Goldberg got his WCW push.
Listen, hey, what he's doing, my brother made a good point earlier, man, was that this dude has basically what he's doing is sports entertainment. It's sports entertainment. It's not quite boxing. It's not MMA. It's an entertainment where somebody gets knocked out. You get what I'm saying? It's sports entertainment. He has created his own niche that only he is in right now. It's amazing, man. He's got you still wondering who he can fight next. I would not call him breakout boxer of the year.
No, it's not. The award wasn't boxer, bro. This is where people are getting confused. It's breakout athlete.
This is a breakout athlete.
And that's why I agree with them.
Just as sure as Stone Cold was an athlete.
Yep.
And Triple H was an athlete.
Yep.
Jake Paul is an athlete. And he's doing sports entertainment. And he's doing a great job. Period. I can't even be mad at Jake about it, honestly. I mean, you go, like when we went to the presser, the last presser where he had the big dude.
The comedian, what's his name?
Yeah, this dude is a whole comedian, bro, and stood up there, and the whole thing was satirical. We didn't realize that the joke was on us. The joke was on Showtime. The joke was on all of us. We got this dude up there. They talking to this dude with this sweatsuit on, with this ridiculous sweatsuit he had on that was tucked in and 2 sizes too tight. I mean, do you remember this guy, bro?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
I was just like, I looked at the footage, man, and I just had to laugh. I had an unbelievable laugh because the stuff he was saying, it didn't make sense. Remember, they got up and they did the pad work. It's sports entertainment. It was entertaining. We laughed about it on the way back to the hotel, man. It was funny.
So you agree with me then? Do you agree with it? Is he breakout athlete of the year?
As far as sports entertainment athletes,
no, just athlete, breakout athlete in combat sports.
Yeah, boxing. Man. Yeah,
you can't.
There's no other, when we start talking about breakout athlete and all the other things that he's done and kind of where he's reached and who he's reached, I can't be mad about the
Oh
term
my God,
breakout athlete.
I feel so not
Break,
happy, but like I convinced you. Like you guys, market. Okay, we're all
breakout
boxing fans.
athlete, I would not be mad to say it because, again, what other athlete, as far as, and we're not talking about dominating your sport with all the champions in it. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the
That's fighter of the
dude.
year.
He
That's Canelo
created a
Alvarez.
niche. Yeah, he created a niche and he has run it up in that little time frame. He has run up the scoreboard, man. You can't be mad about it.
See, here's the thing. I think a lot of people are confusing it with, breakout boxer of the year, and
No,
they're
it's
trying to
not.
like tie it into like, his skills or his abilities in the ring, and it's not that.
No,
He's been so disruptive in the sport, and he's gotten the most attention. Like anything he does trends on social media. Anything he does on Instagram gets put up by 50 million other channels. He's
absolutely.
beefing with the UFC president. Like there's no other like athlete
That
that
can
has.
garner the sort of attention
Yeah,
that he's getting right now. You're right. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, when we start talking about breakout boxers, I mean, that's a different story. I mean, you got guys like, we found out who Isak Cruz is. The world found out who Isak Cruz. You and I have known who he is for a minute, but the world saw a young pit bull that looks like he's gonna lock on to whoever he fights next, and it'll be must see TV, whether it's Ryan Garcia or anybody else. Like those are, yeah, of course, those guys don't need to be mentioned because they are not. It's just an athlete as a whole, and yeah, just like a wrestler's an athlete, dude. Jake Paul is an athlete. He training in the gym. I can't be mad about it. I've got
nah.
no reason to fight it.
Like I mentioned, there's no one else this year that shook up the game, garnered that much attention, animosity, been polarizing the fan base,
Mm-hmm.
but has also directly affected the sport and the fighters in it, which said things like I had mentioned before, like Jake Paul. He broke out of those that had more experience and more skill than him. And what he lacked in mastery of his craft, he made up for it in mental skill and his ability to know how to push buttons and market himself. Freaking kid is smart, and he had the biggest splash more than any fighter this year. And with that, I rest my case, and that's why I agree that he's the breakout athlete, fighter, boxer of the year, whatever, however Sports Illustrated
The
put him.
breakout latest of whatever this America is, man.
Yeah.
He's the latest Johnny come lately um, that is in this quasi sports realm. It's got nothing to do with the NFL, the NBA. So for those folk that are kind of looking at it and going, oh, I'm somebody like Trey Young or something, I can get it. I can understand where people will be coming from. Those guys omitted from all of this. The NFL guys, the NBA guys, the new MLB guy that you love watching. Not that. We're talking about just an athlete, not in a league like that, because Jake Paul is not a part of boxing's leagues either or sanctioning bodies. He's not a member of those things. So again, this is his own segment in reality, and he's doing great.
All right. With that, I rest my case. Marcus, Happy New Year. Thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in with us. Thank you. We appreciate it. Happy New Year. Make this 2022 the best one yet. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your health. For Marcus Hayes, I'm Marcos Villegas. Peace out. Thank you, everybody.
Peace out.
Thank you so much for watching this video, and make sure to subscribe for more videos of your favorite fighters over here on Fight Up TV, and give us a follow online as well at Fight Up TV on Twitter and on Instagram. We appreciate it, guys.